Hello, welcome to the self-learning platform by Dr. Sushma Singh. Today we start Unit 1, what is political theory and why study it? And our topic is political theory, growth and evolution. Political theory has in the West passed through different stages. There was a time when during the ancient Greek and the medieval period, political theory would concern itself with identifying the ethical goals of the state. That is, the objectives which the state would cherish to achieve. Both Plato and Aristotle would insist on the functions of the state to establish justice or give the individual a good life. The medieval period political theory associated as it was with religion demanded of the state to prepare and train the individual to seek a place with God. The early modern age political theory sought to discuss theories of the origin of the state, followed by philosophers with whom the organization and functions of the state were major concerns of the state. The mid 20th century political theory dealt largely with the institutions of the state, making the concept of power to be the basic theme of the state. The growth and evolution of political theory can be elaborated in three major streams. These are classical political theory, modern political theory, and contemporary political theory. The classification of the political theory into classical, modern, and contemporary is indeed thematic. What divides the classical or the traditional from the modern is the element of science in the latter and its absence in the former. Philosophy dominates the classical tradition of the political theory, whereas the science and its methodology dominate the modernist. As an exception, there may be an Aristotle and a Thomas in the ancient and the medieval period of the West, who might have emphasized the science element while discovering the laws of public life. And there may be a Strauss in one times when who might see the utility of philosophy in the study of politics. Likewise, modern political theory and contemporary political theory are somewhat different, at least in the essence. Modern political theory is empirical and scientific, whereas the contemporary political theory is philosophical and historical. Contemporary political theory attempts to synthesize the essence of both the classical and modern political theory. Now, the interrelated structure denoting activity, relationship, and belief, activity relating to ruling, warfare, education, religious practices, relationships involving those between social classes, between the rulers and the ruled, between the superiors and the inferiors. Beliefs such as justice, equality, natural law, and the like. Relating itself to the political whole, the classical political theory laid emphasis on order, balance, equilibrium, stability, and harmony. That is why in the process dwelt on terms such as conflicts, anarchy, instability, and revolution. Classical political theory laid stress on comparative studies for supplying a more comprehensive explanation of political phenomena and a wider range of alternatives. That was the reason that the classical political theory developed a classification of political form. For example, monarchy, aristocracy, democracy, and their variants, and a set of concepts such as law, citizenship, justice, and participation, so as to explain differences and similarities between them. Classical political theory had been largely ethical in perspective. Its response was rooted in a moral outlook. Plato advocated the ideal state, Aristotle a state that can achieve the best possible, Augustine the city of God. Classical political theory undertook to appraise the various constitutional forms, to determine the form more suitable for a particular set of circumstances, and to decide if any absolutely the best form possible. Classical political theory, by projecting the best form of polity as the ideal, revealed the boldness and radicalism of classical theory. Though some dismissed such an attempt as merely utopian and visionary. Now let us move to the next point, the modern political theory. Modern political theory encompasses in itself a host of diverse trends such as institutional, structural, scientific, positivistic, empirical, behavioral, post-behavioral, and the Marxist. These trends dominate the greater part of the 20th century. Classical political theory was by and large philosophical, normative, idealistic, and to an extent historical. Modern political theory, on the other hand, can be classified into two opposing divisions: the liberal, including the individualistic, the illistic, and the pluralistic on one hand, and the Marxist, including the dialectical, materialistic on the other. Modern political theory, beginning with the liberal stance from the 15th to 16th century and later expressing itself in the institutional, positivist, empirical, behavioral, and post-behavioral trends, dubbing the whole classical tradition as dull. They are advocates from the Merriam and Key to Dell, Caswell, and Easton sought to lay stress on the present rather than the past. The living rather than the dull, the immediate rather than the remote, the objective rather than the subjective, the analytic rather than the philosophic, the explanatory rather than the descriptive, the process oriented rather than the purpose oriented, the scientific rather than the theoretical. Modern political theory, with its Western liberal democratic shade, attempted to build a science of politics, objective, empirical, observational, measurable, operational, and value free. Its feature can be summed up as under. Facts and data constitute the basis of study. These are accumulated, explained, and then used for testing hypotheses. Human behavior can be studied, and regularities of human behavior can be expressed in generalization. Subjectivity gives way to objectivity, philosophical interpretation to analytical and explanation, purpose to procedure, descriptive to observational, normative to scientific. Facts and value are separated. Values are so arranged that the facts become relevant. Methodology has to be self-conscious, explicit, and quantitative. Interdisciplinary synthesis is to be achieved. What it is regarded as more important than either what it was, or what it ought to be, or could be. Values are to be support facts, substance to form, and theory to research, and status quo to social change. At the other end of the modern political theory stands the Marxist political theory, also called the dialectical, materialistic, or scientific socialist theory. It describes the general laws of motion in the development of all phenomena. Its importance lies in change through the struggle between the opposites, between relations of production and productive forces, with a view to have a better mode of production, development from the lower stage to higher one, from say capitalist to socialist, and from socialistic to communistic. It is a theory which provides a systematic and scientific framework of analyzing and explaining social and political change. It is a method of interpreting the past, understanding the present, and projecting the future. Now let us move to the next point, contemporary political theory. Highlighting the characteristic features of the contemporary political theory, David Held refers to the following. Contemporary political theory has been viewed as the history of political thought, involving an attempt to examine the significance of text in their historical context. It has sought to revitalize the discipline as a form of conceptual analysis, and in the process, finding political theory as a systematic reflection upon and classification of the meanings of the key forms and concepts such as sovereignty, democracy, justice, and the like. It has been developed as the systematic elaboration of the underlying structure of one moral and political activities, the disclosure, examination, and reconstruction of the foundation of the political value. It has been revitalized as a form of argument concerned with the abstract theoretical questions and particular political issues. It has been championed as a critique of all forms of foundationalism, either the post-modernist or the liberal defenders. It accordingly presents itself as a stimulant to dialogue and to conversation among human beings. It has been elaborated as a form of systematic model building influenced by theoretical economics, rational choice theory, and game theory. It aims to construct formal models of political processes. It has been developed as the theoretical enterprise of the discipline of political science. As such, it attempts to construct theory on the basis of observation and modest empirical generalization. Contemporary political theory is mainly concerned with the explanation, investigation, and ultimately with the comprehension of what relates to politics, concepts, principles, and institutions. Brian Barry says that the political theory attempts to study the relation between the principles and institutions. John Rawls thinks the political theory can seek truth alongside the scientific empirical methods. Robert Nozick and believes that contemporary political theory can solve many political problems by combining the classical ends with empirical means. The consensus, for example, is that the empirical analysis and reflections of a logic and moral character can coexist in political theory. David Held sums up by saying that the contemporary political theory is first the philosophical concerned above all with the conceptual and normative. Second, the empirical analytic concerns above all with the problems of understanding and explanation. Third, the strategic concern about all an assessment of the feasibility of moving from where we are to where we might like to be. To these one must add the historical, the examination of the changing meaning of the political discourse, its key concepts, theories, and concerns over time. Now let us finish the chapter today, close the chapter today, and thank you so much for your attention.